Hello, my name is Joe Aldridge, and I've been a type 1 diabetic for 7 decades.
And I'm Cam. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and you are tuned in to the Diabetes Our Way podcast, where we discuss all things diabetes related.
This podcast, we're going to share a few laughs, and you're also going to learn a lot as far as what we've experienced over our trials with type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
But please note, we are not doctors, and this podcast is for general information and entertainment. It is not any form of direct medical advice. If you or someone in your life has or may have any form of diabetes, please contact a medical professional. Hey guys, welcome to the Diabetes Our Way podcast with Joe. He's Joe.
Hey.
And I'm Cam, of course. Took a week off, after our great episode, our great guest, Dr. McKinley. Got a lot of great feedback from him on our show, which was amazing. He provided so much great information for us.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And as a matter of fact, I went to breakfast with him last Saturday, and we discussed a lot of stuff, that we talked about, but also some new stuff, which I'll bring up here in a bit.
Okay, yeah. And before we get into that, I just want to say, did you see what the Barbie doll company is doing now?
Well, you sent me that and everything else, but it's all about selling toys.
Yeah, so Barbie is coming out with a type 1 diabetic Barbie doll with the insulin pump and everything. And I'm thinking, why are we celebrating having type 1 diabetes? Why are we normalizing it? And
because there's no money in a cure. No,
yes.
It's hey, let's just keep getting money off of everybody. That's my thoughts. So, you wanted me to share my thoughts on that.
Absolutely, I did.
And it's like I said, there's no money in a cure.
But it seems like
thank the American diabetes for that one.
Yeah, but it seems like we're normalizing having diabetes or having type 2 diabetes as it's a normal thing and it's okay, and we shouldn't be doing that. I mean, granted, type 1 diabetes, mostly you can't, especially if it's juvenile, right, like you had.
Right.
You can't really get around it, but maybe making those people feel better and inclusive about it. But I don't know. I think it just sends the wrong message, in my opinion.
I agree with that. No, I agree totally, Cam, and stuff like that. And I don't know if you saw the news that came out this week that the Robert F. Kennedy and the Health and Human Services basically has banned all this stuff. And if you really want to look at how bad the food is in America, and I got this from Dr. McKinley, Google the video Fruit Loops bought in America versus Fruit Loops bought in Canada. And the difference is the Fruit Loops bought in Canada, they don't look anything like the Fruit Loops, bought in America. So they're made in Canada with all natural, pure juices. Okay, in America, we got all these dyes, and there's 1,500 of them that Robert F. Kennedy, and whether you like him or not, I mean, I know he's a Democrat, but whether you like him or not, he has basically pointed out all these hazardous dyes and everything that's in our food. And I know some people from Australia, and those are banned in Australia. Those are banned in Europe. And I wonder why diabetes is so much less in those countries than it is in America. It all started back in the 1980s, and we can get into all that stuff, but just Google that. The Fruit Loops made in America, and they got an American guy, and I hate to admit it, but he's got a larger maybe body mass than a guy from Canada, and they pull the boxes from Canada and from America, and it shows the difference as far as how much worse the American cereals are than they are made in Canada, Australia, and Europe.
Could you taste the difference in taste?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to buy Canada Fruit Loops here. I wonder why that is. Why do you think that is?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, let's get those young kids addicted to cereal, and they keep getting more and more body mass. And what happens? Oh my gosh! Look at the rise of type 2 diabetics in juveniles in America compared to all the other countries out there. See what you see.
Exactly. Well, heck, if you go down the shopping aisle on the cereal, it's crazy the amount of different cereals that there are.
Yeah.
And then lowly at the end, there's your couple healthy, or they say healthy choices, but you know.
Right.
But it's amazing how many different types of things there are out there, especially cereal-wise.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten cereal, but I will say Fruity Pebbles is probably one. Fruity Pebbles and Captain Crunch, I love those cereals. I would be interested to see what they look like without the dyes.
Yeah, but well, I mean, maybe you can order off of Amazon, from Canada and stuff like that. But why don't you pull those up and look at the ingredients to tell me how many dyes and be this and be that and all everything else is. It's all a bunch of let's get you fatter, Cam.
And no, we don't want that. We're going in the right direction. You don't want that.
You're doing a great job.
The one thing we're not going to be able to do today is test the sugar because my meter expired, so I have to get another meter. So, and I don't think that people want to see me pricking my finger.
Well, some people still do that, which is the amazing thing. But
yeah,
let me ask you. I mean, what were your thoughts? I mean, I know Dr. McKinley for, like I said, the 1980s. But what were your thoughts? Were you impressed with the guy, or what do you think?
Yeah, I was really impressed with him. I thought he had a wealth of information. He would be a doctor that I would want if I had, if he was treating me for my diabetes, because he seemed super knowledgeable. He seemed up to date with what's going on and what the trends are in the diabetic world. I mean, the fact that he said that there was 19, diabetes, and how you can't just say, okay, you're a type 1 and then continue to treat it as a type 1 because it's going to change as you continue to get older, I thought was really fascinating, because I thought to myself, I wonder how many doctors are just treating it as your standard type 2, type 1 diabetes and not in these other areas that he explained. And I thought that was just, I couldn't believe it. I thought he was just a wealth of information, spoke really well as well. I mean, I could listen to him probably for another hour or so.
Yeah. Well, we'll have him back on, but without a doubt, it's he studies this stuff inside and out. And like I said, that's one of the things I wrote down. I got a bunch of kind of things that highlight from that. And number 2 was 19 forms of diabetes. And then now, and when we started 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. And what I thought was interesting is that he said, if your A1C is continuing to rise, maybe it's a different form of diabetes. And I really think, like any disease, it kind of mutates and adjusts and stuff like that to kind of fight your system and your body. Your body mm-hmm. and, the good chromosomes, the bad chromosomes, all this stuff's fighting each other. And I just think diseases, especially like cancer and stuff like that, they can mutate and say, okay, instead of attacking this area, we're going to attack a different area.
Mm-hmm.
So
I also thought it was very interesting when he talked about paying cash for your medicine versus paying it through your insurance. I'm probably still blown away about that.
That all started under Obamacare. I'm just going to tell you that. I mean, it was a great policy in some areas, but it wasn't in other areas. But there's a lot of lobbyists, like the Food and Drug Administration, the pharmaceuticals, the food industry, and everything else. And, they can pay for a lot of votes. I'm just going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's just one of those things. It was meant to be a good bill, but then, like any bill, people can manipulate how that works. And I mean, it's helped a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, but it's also been interesting to see what's happened with the pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, how they got introduced into the bill.
Yeah, exactly. And he almost really echoed everything that you and I have felt or thought going through with diabetes and some of our frustrations with medicines and trying to get the right treatment. And so, if anything, he brought to life a little bit, or validated a little bit more our feelings, I guess you could say.
Well, and if you think we're feeling that, how do you think all the other diabetics are feeling that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, it's I really liked what he said about, I'm not treating Joe as being a diabetic. I'm treating Joe as being a human that has diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of other factors that really affect you, me, and stuff like that. And so he's got to, and maybe that's something that, if you are lucky to get an internal medicine GP, like he said, they're looking at all these chronic diseases and how they affect the human being. And let's face it, as you get older, your body's going to change, but everything else is going to change too. So if your A1C is going up or down, there's got to be corrections being made. And my thoughts are, has your diabetes, migrated or adjusted, and to start attacking in different areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it brought back too when I said that the type 2 diabetes doesn't define me, but you said your diabetes does define you. It almost said that the Dr. McKinley was saying it doesn't define you. You're still Joe. You just have it.
Yeah, I still think it defines you, so I'll disagree with him on that.
Well, I'll agree with Dr. McKinley on that. I don't think it defines
but
me.
I'm going to tell you, if I wasn't diabetic growing up and everything else, I would not be the person I am today. And I thank God that God is with me every day and helped me survive this. So if I wasn't diabetic growing up, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have said that, but we were running short on time and stuff like that. But you might be right, I might be right, but guess what? You have your opinion, I have my opinion, and that's the most important thing. Is your opinion my opinion?
Exactly.
Not McKinley's opinion. Hey, I do have to apologize. There was something that was said, and I have to apologize to my wife, Lisa. So I made a comment. I wrote it down. I said, I made my wife, I always ask her, saying that, she did not believe that when I said the doctors told me that I would only live to be 25 or 25 years. She just thought that wasn't true. I was wrong. She never said that.
Oh, okay.
So if she's listening, she's going to listen to this podcast. I want to apologize. My wife has been great as far as helping me manage my diabetes. And so if you're a diabetic, especially Cameron, his mom and dad told me to say this, he needs to marry somebody in healthcare.
I know, my dad says that all the time to me. He's like, get yourself a nurse.
A nurse or doctor.
Yeah.
Just don't get those real cynical doctors. All of a sudden you get too much insulin and they don't know, and especially if you bought $1 million life insurance policy a year before.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever watched those shows and everything else? It's like, they always say, well, Cameron died suspiciously and everything else, but all of a sudden, a year before, he bought $1 million life insurance policy. I like that Big Lou's. You ever listen to Big Lou? His advertisements and stuff like that. Yeah, you ought to listen to Big Lou's advertisement. He sells insurance and stuff like that, but it's like, Big Lou's like you. His first wife, his second wife wanted $1 million policy, and what can we do? And I'm like Big Lou, but I'm only on wife number 2 or this and that and the other. Or I'm on meds too and stuff like that. I'm not promoting Big Lou, but I just think his advertising is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Is it harder for a diabetic to get life insurance having
It
diabetes?
depends upon how long you've had it and your A1C.
Mm.
And so, and Dr. McKinley told me this way back when. We didn't bring it up in the podcast, but, after about 20 years of having diabetes, your body kind of adjusts to it and gets used to what's happening, this and that and the other. It all depends, too, on your weight and how that all adjusts. And I thought, it was amazing what he's saying is based upon your taking more insulin, you gain more body mass.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question is if your A1C is, really below 7, you might be rated, but you'll be able to buy insurance, especially it might not be with the top carriers, but you still can get that on a outside basis. But really, the insurance carriers want to look at how long you've had it, what's your track record, and what your A1C is.
Mm.
So I hope that helps, but it's in the old days, if you had type 1 diabetes, you couldn't buy it at all. Type 2 diabetics could, but now what they're starting to see, and I could be wrong on this, but what I'm seeing here is that type 1 diabetics A1C can be adjusted quicker to bring it down. And like even Dr. McKinley said, when we went to, coffee and stuff like that, a lot of type 2 diabetics, they get that and they don't realize they got diabetes for 8-9 years, and all of a sudden their sugar's been running 300, 400, and they just like, well, I'm tired, I'm just getting older, I'm putting on weight, this and that and the other, but let's have another piece of pie. And then all of a sudden that thing that we talked about earlier in the podcast is that, yeah, if your sugars keep running at that high level, what's that doing to your veins, especially in your feet, your eyes, and stuff like that?
Yeah, and it got me thinking about the statin he was talking about. It really made me actually think about, do I need to go back on my statin or not? So that when I see my doctor next week, I'm gonna chat with him about that once I do all my tests and blood work and all the fun stuff that we get to do. I don't have to do my foot test because I already did that this year.
Yeah.
Well, those people who don't know what we're talking about is every year you're supposed to get your feet looked at, and they take I don't know, like a small little piece of thing, and they go up and down your foot to see if you have feeling and stuff like
That's
that.
your
if you're
reflex.
diabetic, yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that, Cam. This is two things that I think every diabetic should do. My wife, it would drive her crazy because she would look at my feet, but I'd never hardly trim my toenails until they got big, and I would peel them off and stuff like that, and then this and that and the other. So I was at my doctor, and he said, you need to go to a podiatrist. So I go to a podiatrist every 4 months, and she, does a great job. She watches my feet. She cleans all the stuff off the bottom, and my feet are still ticklish. I mean, I just die laughing. I got great feeling. I don't have much neuropathy, and then she trims my toenails because I used to get ingrown toenails, and those are horrible, as you know. But I would recommend to you, I would go more than once a year. I'd go, even if you got to pay out of pocket, maybe go twice a year. Here's the other thing. I get my teeth cleaned 4 times a year. 2 of them are paid for. I paid out of pocket. But my diabetes runs much better with clean teeth. And
how does that, how do you figure that?
Because I've got so many dentist people that I know, most diseases will start to affect your teeth. Cancers, stuff like that. And if you're not feeling good, go get your teeth cleaned. I bet you start feeling better. Yeah, so your teeth and your mouth, it's a huge area where, I mean, they say, what is it? It's better to kiss a dog than it is to kiss a human because a dog's mouth's cleaner than a human.
Oh. Depends on whose dog.
Well, but no, I mean, I'm telling you, you look it up, and everybody on the podcast, look it up. But get your teeth clean and get your feet clean.
Yeah.
But do it as a podiatrist, because most of the time you can't do the way they do that. I mean, Shelley does a great job, and my dentist does a great job.
This thing right here is full of germs and bacteria and I'm always cleaning my cell phone.
Yeah, but we don't know how good you're doing it.
I do it pretty well.
Oh, yeah. What'd you say, this thing? What are you pointing at there?
Oh, my cell phone. The cell phone.
Oh, hell, you can't trust a cell phone. I mean, Russia's listening to you, and China, too. They're probably feeding you all kind of crap.
Well, yeah, it got back to, I'm going to go see my doctor on the 22nd. I'll get my A1C tested to see where I'm at, let him know everything I've been doing. Hopefully he's going to say, Cameron, you've done an amazing job, yada, yada, yada. So I'll be interested to see what my numbers and my A1C looks like next week after all the hard work I've been doing as well. So I'll have to keep you posted on how my A1C is looking. Keep me posted.
I looked at my 14-day, and that's around 160, but my 90 days at 156 average and stuff like that. So that's a great thing about the Libre, and I definitely would recommend that people get on some kind of Libre or Dexcom.
Yeah, well, I had the new Libre 3 Plus, and it came with a new app. And what I like about that feature, and we could talk about sensors in a later podcast, but
that's a good idea.
But this sensor allows me to silence my alarms for up to 6 hours, so I don't hear the loud noises, or God forbid, and this happened to me. I was in a meeting one time, and all of a sudden my sensor goes like really loud, and everyone who has those sensors knows that sound of when you're going low, and it's like people are looking at you. I'm like, turn off, shut off.
But that goes back to maybe the people in the meeting. You can just tell them, hey, listen, I'm a type 2 diabetic, and so don't be ashamed.
Oh, I'm not. It's it's just like embarrassing sometimes when everything's quiet and then that alarm goes off.
I'll sit there in a restaurant and I'll check my blood sugar, and I'm getting ready to eat. I'll draw my insulin right out here, and I'll take the shot. I won't go in the bathroom. I'll take the shot. And you know what I would say if anybody came up to me and said you should not do that, or if you're a drug addict, I'd say, you find a cure for diabetes and I won't have to do it.
That's a good retort back.
No, it's just, I'm not going to apologize for being diabetic. I'm sorry. Those days are over.
Right. Right.
I was going to tell you, I was going down through my list. You've already talked about a bunch of them.
Sorry.
And so I thought that what you were exactly saying, how you must adjust your insulin as you age with diabetes. A1C and other factors are causing your A1C to be out of whack. And I thought McKinley really covered that well. The American Fruit Loops thing, when he sent me that, I was like, wow. And then when I talked to my son's fiance from Australia, she's just blown away at the crap that's in our food compared to what's in Australia. So I don't always agree with him and everything else, but I really think, the Health and Human Resource guy, Robert F. Kennedy, is on the right track when it comes to all these dyes and this stuff that's going into our food. So I probably lost maybe half our followers, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, but I think most people I think as we continue to grow as a society, we want to be more healthy. We want to be living a little healthier lifestyle. I see more and more people, just like I do, look at the nutrition facts on your labels of foods, and particularly I'm looking at carbs, I'm looking at sodium levels, I'm looking at
and the ingredients,
right? So I think America, hopefully, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think we're going to start to embrace having less chemicals and dyes in our food.
Well, it's interesting, Cam, because and I'm not a socialist or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but sometimes when you get into a free economy, the almighty driver is the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, I heard this today from a really good friend of mine, Matt. I won't say his last name, but we talked about, are you servicing people for what God wants you to service them for? Are you servicing people for you? And I think there are a lot of people that their God is make as much money as I can and screw everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And all you got to do is go back to the Bible, and you see that happening. I mean, to me, if you read the Bible, or like me, I listen to the Bible in a year with Father Mike Schmitz every day. But if you read it, it's one of the most interesting stories with a good undertone for that we got to trust the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to make this a religious part of this, but I never read the Bible growing up, and here I grew up Catholic all these years, and until COVID hit and Essentia came out with Bible in the Year with Father Mike Schmitz, I've been listening to the Bible every day. I'm now in my 5th year with that, and then the catechism and rosary in a year and stuff like that. And it's the most fascinating stories that are being told. We heard from Prophet Isaiah and Prophet Tobit today on day 197. And so I really think that it's one of the greatest mystery novels, and it's whether you believe in the Holy Spirit mystery or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope we have you wanna lose any more viewers. I'm kidding.
Well, you know what?
I was gonna tell you it is interesting because I did go to mass my own self this past Sunday, and it brought up the story about the Samaritan and helping the person, and how do we want to live our lives? Do we want to be in the view of the victim? Do we want to be in the view of the other two people who just passed the person by, or do we want to be the Samaritan who helped them out? And even the Samaritan, they weren't even they didn't even like Jews, but regardless, whether your political, religious affiliation, how do you want to live your life? Do you want to be the Samaritan, or do you want to be the victim, or the other people who just pass on by and worry about what their own lives?
Well, I was going to tell you, I'm not worried about this life.
Mm-hmm.
This life's short. We're only here for a while. But I heard a priest, Father Tom, and he said, everybody today is talking about immigration, this and that and the other. We're all immigrants on earth. And the goal is that we're not supposed to be here for humans from a standpoint of just live the human life. We're supposed to immigrate like all the saints did and all the people in heaven. And I hope like your grandparents, both sets of them, that they immigrated to heaven,
mm-hmm.
which is our eternal life. So this life is temporary, but it's the eternal life. And so if you're not living for that next life, and I got to admit to you, a lot of my life, I didn't do that. And now it's like, okay, thank God, having diabetes, I probably should have been dead, but I think God's got a plan for me, and maybe this podcast is one of those plans, or a book, or talking to people, it's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like the plan is how do we help people get through their suffering with God's help? Because every day you wake up, you have a cross you've got to bear. You
Mm-hmm.
being a type 2 diabetic, me being a type 1, somebody having cancer, somebody that's lost their job, somebody that lost, maybe their spouse or their kids or whatever. They're bearing that cross every day. But if they, just like Simeon that helped Christ carry that cross, you're carrying your cross, but are you doing it with God helping you, or Jesus helping you, or the Spirit helping you, or are you doing it by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's very important that I would talk to people about is that, what are you trying to do? And as us, as diabetics, can we be servants to other diabetics for their sake, not for our sake? And I
Exactly.
think a lot of times what we see is that people are doing everything on this earth humanly just for their sake, not for the sake of society and the sake for others. And
Right.
that's where I'm trying to, and I fail at that, Cam, but that's where I pray every morning that, hey, God, be with me, with everybody I encounter and everybody that I get to talk to today.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, as people listen to this, I would hope that, you would look at that and say, okay, what am I doing for the betterment of others, especially if I have a family member or myself or this and that and the other's diabetic, got cancer, got heart disease or COPD and stuff like that. And how can we help the people that are suffering get through carrying their cross every day?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Sorry, I
wanted to.
got off on a tangent there.
No, you're okay. You're good. I mean, you talk about sharing some knowledge and how to help people along the way. I wanted to talk about, and if you want to talk about on this one, we can. If not, but your eyesight and in your eye and how what happens? How can people help? With their type 1 diabetic, like what are some things they need to watch out for?
Well, I think as you get older and your body adjusts, and going back to the statins that McKinley talked about, you got to watch your blood pressure. And let's face it, if you gain more body mass, your blood pressure is going to go up. When they operated on this eye here, which I'm totally blind in, the doctor told me back in the 1980s I was going to develop high blood pressure as soon as they took that eyeball out. And sure enough, I did. So as I've aged, my blood pressure continues to go up. And that's where, that's the big control is how do I keep my blood pressure level? How do I keep my statins in there so that I don't have a stroke or I don't have a heart attack? And that's what Dr. McKinley was talking about is that most diabetics now either die from a stroke like Grandma Aldridge did, or they die from a heart attack. And they don't die from diabetes. They die from all the effects that diabetes does that. So, his analogy is really good. And then the other factor, I'll go back to the eye, but the other factor I thought was interesting was what he said about the fatty liver.
Yeah.
And more people die from fatty livers, which is due to our food and this and that and the other, than they do from alcohol. And I was blown away by that.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, well, and in my industry, we won't say what I do or whatever, but most people can figure it out if they Google me. But, it's like people will say, well, why am I rated? Because I got a fatty liver. I don't drink at all.
Right.
At McKinley, it's just like, oh my gosh, he just told me why. It's because not that they're drinking or drinking as much, but it's what the hell they're eating.
It's what they're eating, yeah. I have a fatty liver. I mean, I probably still have a fatty liver, but I had and I wasn't a big drinker or anything like that. It was all the food that I was putting in my body. So that's another test that I always do with my doctor is I check, my liver and see, where it's at. But he told me straight up that if you don't get some of this weight down and you don't get on a healthier lifestyle, this fatty liver, you're going to end up with cirrhosis of the liver. And
but it won't be from alcohol.
No, it'll be from.
But everybody thinks it's from alcohol. Everybody thinks it's from alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought too. It's funny. My wife and I got invited to a wedding, and I got a text. It was my personal trainer and stuff like that, and she asked if we had any diet restrictions, this and that and the other. And I text back, and of course the wedding's on a Friday, so I said, well, I'll eat either a Mediterranean diet with fish or a vegetarian diet. And so I've been trying to eat, less red meat from that standpoint. But I thought what McKinley really hit upon was if you want to live longer, eat a Mediterranean diet.
Mediterranean, yeah.
Yeah. And it's really good. I mean, now whether it's made in Italy or Spain or Europe or Australia versus America, we just have to see what's in the ingredients.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'll never eat imitation crab meat ever again after I saw a video how that's made.
I eat sardines. I love sardines, and Grandpa Aldridge ate sardines all the time, and he ate olives all the time. So I like I don't know, what do you prefer, black olives or green olives?
Black olives.
So you're like Grandpa Aldridge. I like green olives.
I can't stand green olives. Ugh. No, thank you.
But olive oil is a great, pure olive oil is really what we should be eating every day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But it's been fun. I mean, are we short on time? What are we doing?
No, we've been going about 36 minutes now, so we're just talking away. We were talking about your eye and how did you lose your vision in your eye?
Just stupidity. I wasn't 20 years into diabetes, but I went to college. And, I was drinking. I was working 2 jobs. I worked as an unloader at UPS because they were paying, back then they were paying minimum wage now, about $20 an hour because nobody would do that. And you'd get up at 4 in the morning and unload. Me and 2 other guys would unload a whole tractor trailer of packages.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting them out as fast as you can. And so, very first day I ate, before I went in there, I threw up all over the trailer. And the guy's sitting there clocking me going, Aldridge, you're too slow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so that kind of started it. And then it just kind of went downhill. I would go in, not eating. Back then, we didn't really have the blood testing things. So it was all by feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll never forget, I was playing softball for the intramural team. It was like October. I'm playing third base. And all of a sudden I'm looking up and I'm like, was it going to rain? It was a cloudy day. And I kept seeing these lines going across. And lo and behold, it was floaters. The blood vessels in the back of my eye were leaking big time. And so they had to go in and shoot lasers in there to kind of seal them off and save whatever they could as far as eyesight. But that was when retinopathy and eye care was so just on the cutting edge starting out.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a lot of too much scar tissue. A doctor in Evansville and stuff like that. So I got referred to Barnes Hospital, and it formed so much scar tissue on my retina in my left eye. They had to go in and try to scrape the scar tissue off, float it back on, and I was in 1 6-hour surgery. 3 weeks later, didn't take, and did another 7-hour surgery, and then 3 weeks after that, I totally lost the sight in that eye.
Oh wow!
So, And I had to stay at Barnes Hospital there by myself, sleeping with my head down. And I was not a hockey fan, but that was during the winter. And I, would listen to the St. Louis Blues hockey games and stuff like that on AM radio over there. I think WKR something. And, but that kind of got me through. But then I was disabled for a year, had to move back in with mom and dad. And luckily for me, God gave me the sight in my right eye, but I could not do hardly anything, Cameron. I had to move in with my mom and dad, drained all my savings, couldn't go back to college, couldn't get a job, drained all my money, had to ask mom and dad for $5 to walk to get a haircut because I couldn't drive. And I will admit this, I almost committed suicide. And so I don't know if there's any diabetics out there and everything else, but you get to such a low point. I almost said, this is it. And mom and dad were both working, and I was just laying there on the floor and pulled out a shotgun and just really thought about it. It's just, I just said, God, if this is the bottom, then tell me that it's okay to do this. And then I really felt the God's Spirit hit me and said, no, you'll recover from this. And I did. And I came out with a much better attitude. But, I was at rock bottom. It was bad. I couldn't play softball again. I went back to college, and I was a great softball player. And I'll never forget, we were short a guy. They wanted me to coach the team. And here I am, I still can't see out this eye still not purely good eyesight. And I got, 20/30 vision in that. And so we almost had to forfeit a game. And actually we ended up playing with 8 players, but the opposing team was saying, what's wrong with that guy? Because I thought, I'd still be a part of it. And I was dressed in a softball uniform.
Right.
And then I sat there and I said, okay, I'm done. I can't come out and do this anymore. And I realized that I can't, play the sports that I used to be able to play the way I used to be able to play it. I was a golfer with 2 eyes. I was I'd shoot, high 70s, low 80s. And then when I lost this left eye, I have no depth perception. And now I have no shoulders just from being old and everything else. But it was hard to sit there and go, okay, I'm shooting 80, 81 on a really nice course. Now I'm shooting 96 to 105.
Right. Yeah. So did you, what was your first reaction, that you, after you went through everything? I'm sure that you started to take things much more seriously, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah. I just said, I was just trying to figure out what can I eat. I went to eating more greens, not as much. I wasn't drinking as much beer, this and that and the other, but I was just trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? And then the technology started to develop a little bit better with the finger pricks, stuff like that. I mean, basically, I was still thinking, even at that time, I never planned on getting married. I never planned on, how life treated me, but I think that was God's will of just saying. And if I wouldn't have moved to Bloomington, Indiana, because I was still doing a lot of that stuff, because I was still in Evansville, Indiana, graduated from University of Southern Indiana. Back then it was Indiana State University, Evansville. But I was still going out drinking, with friends and doing all this stuff. But I think if I would have stayed in Evansville, Indiana back then, and luckily for me, I was with Northwestern Mutual, and I really got into a disciplined work ethic and stuff like that. And I was still doing the night manager at the athletic building there. And so I was very disciplined there, but then I would always try to time eating breakfast, eating lunch, and I ate better than what I had in the past. But I still, would go out and party with the guys and girls, but we did a lot of dancing. We did a lot of that stuff. That was the disco area, disco era, and I really loved that. I mean, John Travolta and all those guys. I mean, Billy Schloon in Evansville, Indiana. For anybody listening from Evansville, that's my age. That was a hot spot to go dancing, and fortunately for us, not a lot of guys danced, but a lot of girls did. And it was just, it was just one of those things. But then finally some things happened with my current company, and then I got an opportunity after having a very successful internship program to move to Bloomington, Indiana. And I did that, and I think that's when things really changed. I moved to Bloomington, Indiana on September 1st, 1986, and I enrolled in the MBA school, lasted about 2 days, and said, I'm not going to go in corporate America. I want to stay in what I'm doing now. And it was far enough away from mom and dad, but it's close enough for mom and dad. And I think that's what God led me. God led me on that journey to get to Bloomington, Indiana, led me on the journey to meet my wife, Lisa. And basically I still am trying to figure out, and I pray every day, what's my plan for him. And because, he's got a plan for all of us, but I keep wondering, what more am I supposed to be doing to be a servant of God?
Right.
But going back to my point, if I wouldn't have had diabetes, I wouldn't have lost my left eye. And I don't blame God or anybody else for that. I accepted it because I feel like that was my cross I had to bear. But I feel like I wouldn't be as good as in my job and developing relationships with others if I would not be diabetic. I probably would have been a real asshole sometimes.
Sometimes. No, okay. Yeah, no, that was a really powerful story, and thank you for sharing that with us, Uncle Joe. I can't imagine, being in that space and that headspace there. But yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing.
So many people go into, especially in military and stuff like that. I mean, you really can go into a deep, dark hole. And it's just, I really feel like that's when you got to really, help. You can go to others for help and stuff like that. But I really think that's where I was blessed to be baptized at a young age, Catholic, and I was blessed to go to a Catholic grade school. And I thank God every day that I had the parents I had. And of course, you were, your grandparents were Catholic and stuff like that on Karen's side, your mom's side. And I just really feel blessed that spirit was born in me when I was baptized, and I'm still, trying to continue to get closer and closer to God.
Well, amen. Well, I think on that note, I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
For this show.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the viewers. We get some good views from our YouTube subscription. I've been talking with Joe, trying to get it on Spotify. I'm going to be getting it on iTunes soon, so be patient. We're only 5 episodes in, but we're going to get another guest. I said, Joe, you're working on getting us another guest for the next podcast, right?
Yeah. Her name's Dr. Deborah McDaniel, good friend of mine, and she used to have me go speak to younger diabetics. And she worked with Riley Hospital and was a pediatrician here and stuff like that. And she's agreed to come on to kind of talk about things and everything else. But Deb is one of the most knowledgeable things as far as doctors. And she's, for all you people from the South, she's a really good country doctor.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I've got some other people, and we also got some relatives, like our niece and nephew, that I think would be good to come on board too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, our email address is diabetesourway@gmail.com. You can follow us and subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Instagram. We have a Facebook page. So we're getting on all the platforms.
And whoever sends us an email, you're going to get a shout out at the next, with your questions or comments or whatever. We'll give you a shout out.
We will.
The next podcast.
We will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, I can't do my check today, but I don't know, Joe, if you want to do your check. See
Where's
where you're at.
That's what happens when you don't have good eyesight. Hey, look, I did, on my steps, I did 9,000 steps today.
Hey, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, yeah, I got this little thing. Actually, I did 8,000 steps. Sorry, I misread the 8 versus the 9. But yeah, so what is 8,000 steps? That's the best thing I would say about being diabetic. You don't have to go to the gym. Just get up and walk. Just stay upright.
They say even doing exercises at the table, like leg raises at the table while you eat, help.
Are you doing the chair? Are you doing the chair thing that's all over Facebook?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay, well, I was wondering.
No, I go straight to the gym and lift, and I do my cardio afterwards.
Cam, I gotta tell you, ever since we changed our phone service, my phone, like, I'll send out texts and people won't get them, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna see if I can even test my blood sugar.
Yeah, I
think I'm gonna have to reboot it.
Well, that's okay. Well, since I can't do mine today, and you can't, well,
158.
All right.
Falling.
Yeah, so it's falling too.
It's falling. I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. Cam. Well, thanks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam. Love you.
Yeah, love you too. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Okay. Take care.
All right.